Who is this guy? Paul Samuelson asked himself, for the second time in as many minutes. He was sitting in his office in the economics department at MIT. The year was 1955, or thereabouts. Laid out in front of him was a half-century-old Ph.D. dissertation, written by a Frenchman whom Samuelson was quite sure he had never heard of. Bachelor, something like that. He looked at the front of the document again. Louis Bachelier. It didn't ring any bells. Its author's anonymity notwithstanding, the document open on Samuelson's desk was astounding. Here, 55 years previously, Bachelier had laid out the mathematics of financial markets. Samuelson's first thought was that his own work on the subject over the past several years, the work that was supposed to form one of his students' dissertation, had lost its claim to originality. But it was more striking even than that. By 1900, this Bachelier character had apparently worked out much of the mathematics that Samuelson and his students were only now adapting for use in economics. Mathematics that Samuelson thought had been developed far more recently by mathematicians whose name Samuelson knew by heart because they were tied to the concepts they had supposedly invented. Wiener processes, Kolmogorov's equations, Dub's martingales. Samuelson thought this was cutting-edge stuff, 20 years old at the most. But there it all was, in Bachelier's thesis. How come Samuelson had never heard of him? Samuelson's interest in Bachelier had begun a few days before when he received a postcard from his friend Leonard Jimmy Savage, then a professor of statistics at the University of Chicago. Savage had just finished writing a textbook on probability and statistics, and had developed an interest in the history of probability theory along the way. He had been poking around the university library for early 20th century work on probability when he came across a textbook from 1914 that he had never seen before. When he flipped through it, Savage realized that, in addition to some pioneering work on probability, the book had a few chapters dedicated to what the author called speculation. Literally, probability theory as applied to market speculation. Savage guessed correctly that if he had never come across this work before, his friends in economics departments likely hadn't either. And so he sent out a series of postcards asking if anyone knew of Bachelier. Samuelson had never heard the name, but he was interested in mathematical finance, a field he believed he was in the process of inventing, and so he was curious to see what this Frenchman had done. MIT's mathematics library, despite its enormous holdings, did not have a copy of the obscure 1914 textbook. But Samuelson did find something else by Bachelier that piqued his interest. Bachelier's dissertation, published under the title A Theory of Speculation. He checked it out of the library and brought it back to his office,